It was great to be back in Lambeau. Definitely felt the fans' presence. It was long overdue. I think you can all attest to that. And what a great night to honor Ted Thompson. His presence is still felt. I mean, when you talk about all the guys that scored touchdowns tonight or had a hand in those plays, and you got to give Detroit a lot of credit. They came out ready to battle, and the first half it wasn't looking too great for us, but I was happy with how we finished. Definitely need to start faster as a team, and really in every phase. So we'll enjoy the win tonight, but we know that there's a lot to improve upon.
What can you say about Aaron Jones' performance and just when he's getting fed like that, how good he can be?
Yeah, no, he's so dynamic. He's such a great player, and not only the running game, but in the passing game, which, 3 touchdown receptions is a pretty good night for anybody. And he opens up so much for us, and we got to continue to find ways to get him the football. But he is a dynamic playmaker.
Was there something you saw on film during the week that made you think that it could be a big night for Aaron as a receiver out of the backfield?
Not necessarily. There were a few things like we always game plan, but I just really felt like going into this game from an offensive perspective, we needed to get our playmakers the ball, and that is Devontae Adams, that is Bobby Tunyon, that is Aaron Jones. We still had some opportunities there for MVS that we just didn't quite connect on, and so I know there's a lot more out there for not only this football team, but for our offense as well.
Why was it such a struggle for the defense in the first half? Turning around.
Well, you got to give Detroit a lot of credit. They came out ready to play, and I think we did make some necessary adjustments at halftime. One of the things that certainly I talked to Joe about was, hey, either play coverage or we have to pressure, because when we were doing our 4-man rushes and playing man coverage behind it, we weren't we weren't getting to the quarterback. So if you don't get him off the spot, Jared, I've been around Jared, and he will be efficient and he will make the throws. So we needed to affect the quarterback much more.
Matt, you guys haven't had a sack yet. I think they ruled the Gary thing with a fumble first before the sack. They haven't had one this year. So you talk about manufacturing pressure. Do you think that's something you're going to have to live with this year? Just have to manufacture it?
No, I think we have enough guys up front. I think we're going to take a good hard look at what we asked those guys to do. Detroit's got they've got a pretty damn good offensive line, so you can't discredit them in that regard. I watched it on tape versus one of the premier defensive lines in the game of football versus the 49ers, and I thought they did a damn good job. So, but certainly there's things that we can do to try to get home and with a 4-man rush.
How do you think the learning curve for defense is looking right now? What do you think it'll look like for the rest of the season?
Well, hopefully it's an upward trajectory. I think there's a lot of things that we can build upon, but certainly there's a lot of things that we got to do better.
Now, what do you think of Stokes and specifically some of those 4th down stops?
Yeah, there were some critical stops there at the end of the game. Certainly the one on our sideline, and then the last play of the game were 2 great examples. He's a young player, a guy that has a lot of talent, and we'll continue to try to find ways to put him out there on the field.
Coach, last week you said that there were not any positives you could take away from the game. Safe to say that this week, especially with the run game getting going, it's a different story?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like, but there's certainly a lot to correct, and it was a tough game, and I don't think that necessarily the score was indicative of how that game went. Anytime that you win the turnover battle, you have a much better opportunity of winning the game, and I think that was the difference.
Was it a big concerted effort during the week to reestablish that running game considering you said you didn't give enough opportunities in the opener, and how much do you think that was able to kind of build everything in the passing game tonight?
Yeah, I think that was a big part of it. And I know when we got down in the red zone, I think especially early, I think we had 4 runs to no passes. So even though that jet sweep is considered a pass, the way we view it is more of a run, the one to Aaron Jones. So, I thought our coaches did a really good job of game planning and getting some runs that were effective. Adam Stenovich, Justin Outen, Nathaniel Hackett, Luke Buckus, I thought they did a great job.
Devontae just said on Zoom that this team's versatility is what makes the identity. Some days it could be Aaron Jones Day, some days it could be Tay Day. How nice is it having such a deep team like this?
Yeah, you love great players, and when you have multiple, I think a lot of guys that maybe don't show up on the stat sheet are still super productive for us, like a Mercedes Lewis. You guys will probably quite never understand what he does for our run game and pass protection. Bobby Tunyon, you need a tight end that can win his one-on-ones. MVS, his ability to take the top off the coverage. Alan Lazard is kind of our goon that does a lot of the dirty work, and then it was great to get Randall Cobb involved. So you have to have multiple people in order to be a productive offense.
It just seems that when Aaron Jones gets the touches, everything just blossoms more. You mentioned it earlier. Why do you think that's so?
He's a really explosive, and he's a dynamic player, and he's a guy that certainly he's going to get his touches in the run game, but when you have to account for a guy in the passing game as well, it opens up other windows for other guys to get involved.
Aaron completes that deep ball on the right side to Devontae, and then that's followed with the touchdown pass in tight coverage to Tunyon. How did that change the deeper passes for the rest of the game?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, because I think they were up 17-14, it was the first drive of the second half, and you're in third and forever, and not a very good or not a very comfortable situation for the offense. That was a game-changing play, and I think there was a couple within the game that were like that, but certainly that had an enormous impact on how that game turned out.
What went into the decision to start Runyon over Lucas, and how do you think those interior guys did just on first glance?
Yeah, it's tough for me to say right now. You got to go back and look at the tape, but it seemed like they did a pretty good job. I would say the decision to start Runyon is, Lucas really didn't practice all week, and it's going to be a competitive situation throughout the course of the year. And we're going to always, as cliche as it sounds, we're going to put the best 5 out there, and you guys get tired of me saying that, but that is true. And so we'll continue to compete throughout the course of the season.
With that said, did John do enough tonight to retain that starting job?
I have to go back and look at the tape. I have to go look at everything, and certainly, you feel good about 35 points in any game, but I think we definitely left some out there as well.
Man, how tough is that throw to Bobby? The guy's running with depth cover. How tough of a throw is that? As a former quarterback, what do you appreciate most about that throw?
Well, I was watching Alan Lazard, and he had a lot of separation versus a two-man look, and then I saw the ball didn't go to him, and then I looked up and I saw the replay, and it's one of those things where, I don't know if I've shared this, I think I have in the past. Justin Outen always talks about how he's going to take Aaron to the fair or the circus or whatever, and he has these teddy bear throws where he's going to win teddy bears for his kids. So that was a teddy bear throw.
Matt, you were pretty critical of the offensive play caller last week and the job that he did. How did he do today, do you think? Was it self-assessed?
I would say there's improvement, but there's, like all of us, there's a lot that we can improve upon. So there were a couple moments there where I felt it was a little shaky, and we actually scored on some of those drives, and I got to give our staff a lot of credit, just trying to keep me composed at times. It's not always the easiest of tasks because, like all of us, we're super competitive, and when a certain play doesn't work out like the way you want it, you tend to get, I would say, negative, and you can't do that as a play caller. I think you just got to kind of, turn the page and move on to the next play.
But is it oversimplification to say that if you can get the run game going and feel good about calling runs, that you feel better as a play caller and you get into a better rhythm yourself?
Yeah, I think absolutely. The run game is absolutely critical for our offense to function at the highest level, and that definitely felt good today. I think early on especially we leaned on the run, and it kind of opened up some things in the passing game.
To follow that, Matt, it seemed like night and day games, basically, game one and game two. Does it feel that way to you, and sometimes, how do you really just retreat? Such a contrast.
Well, hey, in this league, you better come ready to play and bring your best each and every week because you just never know. So you always got to be on point. And I did think we had a pretty good week of prep, but I felt pretty good going into our prep versus New Orleans. And certainly when we went out there, it didn't look very good. So, our guys, they're resilient. They'll continue to battle. We've got a lot of veterans, not only on the offense, but on the defense as well. And we got to continue to improve each and every day and each and every week. And we got to make sure we take it and look at it one game at a time. And you can never get too high on yourself in this league because you will be humbled in a hurry. And I think, that happened to us a week ago.
Matt, Aaron was explaining how MVS kind of took the safety away on the 50-yarder to Devontae. But you guys are probably going to see plenty of doubles on him going forward like you did last week. Where's the fine line between throwing it to him anyway because of who he is and trying to figure out other ways to maybe scheme him open and try and get him the ball more?
Well, there's certain routes that if you ask him to run and they have a double team on him, he's not going to be open. So we have to be creative in putting him in a position to run routes that whether there's a double on him or not, that he has an opportunity to get open. So, it's going to be back to the drawing board and make sure that we have a plan for if somebody chooses to do that, or we're going to have to go somewhere else with the football.
Matt, there was a lot of talk in the outside world of this team and Aaron Rodgers this week. And for him to come out and have the game he did, 200-plus yards, 4 touchdowns, what does that say about the competitor and just competitiveness in him?
Well, you're talking about one of the greatest of all time. So I think that says everything. He comes to work every day. He is the ultimate competitor, and he wants everything to be perfect. And he puts a lot of pressure on himself for him to make it perfect, even when it's not. And so, we're fortunate to have a guy like that. It is a lot of fun to work with him on a daily basis, and certainly there's a lot to improve upon from even from this game as well.
Matt, you avoid going 0-2. Would have been the first time since 2006. You don't want to call a Week 2 game a must-win, but how important was it with heading to San Francisco next week?
I think they're all must-wins. That's just the mentality we have, and certainly we only look at what we have in front of us, and we know we have a tremendous challenge in front of us in terms of a team that's 2-0 right now, and I've got a lot of respect because I know a lot of the coaches there. I've obviously watched a lot of their tape, and they've got some really good players as well. And when you have really good coaches plus really good players, you got a chance to do something special. And it's no shock to me that they were in a Super Bowl 2 years ago. So it's going to be a great challenge for us. Certainly going out there on a short week and a primetime game is we're gonna need everybody to come back in focused, doing everything they can to get their bodies right, to get their minds right, because it is a tough place to play.
Are you thinking about maybe going early out there, or does the short week eliminate that possibility?
Yeah, no, we're not going out early. We looked into some things about potentially staying out after the game, but I don't think that's gonna work out as well either. But, yeah, no, it's gonna be a great challenge, and our guys are gonna have to be, we're gonna have to be on our A game in order for us to come out victorious.
All right, let's go to Zoom. Sarah, go ahead.
Zoom folks are relegated to the back of the bus, so I'm going to ask two quick questions. Too high safety, do you think Detroit was daring you to run the football? And also, what was with all closed formations a whole lot more this week than last?
It just was the game plan, Aaron.
Next.
Was that a woe's me question?
That's not a woe with me. No woe. No woe.
All right. Well, you should be here in person. But no, you know, it was just the game plan, and you know, every game it could change, and you know, luckily our guys did enough today to go out there and execute and score enough points, and we got the win. But we know, like I said earlier, there's a lot to look at and to improve upon moving forward.